Um,
And Chanel, while you do that, Allie, do you want to introduce Jason and his um, company and just kind of get us started with that just while she's getting her screen pulled up?
Absolutely. Jason's been with, how long have you been with us? About a year? 6 months?
Oh no, it's been closer to 2.5 now, I think.
Oh, well, time flies.
The time has flown this year, so
It's been crazy. I can't
I
understand
know.
how everything is
Thinking about
happening.
that the other day.
Yeah, Jason has been working with us for quite a while, and he also works very closely with EHL. So if you've ever had any deals there, likely whatever broker they've sent out, they've circled it back to Jason. And now it's just you, right? You haven't picked up another attorney?
For now, things are growing pretty quickly though, so we're thinking about adding at least another paralegal, some more processing staff, so that we want to make sure that we have enough bandwidth to take on new brokers and new clients without anybody experiencing any kind of customer service issues. So we're looking at the options for that right now, and I think that we'll probably be making some calls soon, especially if you guys keep churning out deals as fast as you have been lately. Things have been really moving good. The last 2 months have been pretty crazy.
I know, they're amazing. So he's on our approved attorney list, of course. So he will either wire the commission or bring it by, whichever we work out with them. So you don't have to worry about readjusting your schedule and coming back. But I think what's special about Jason, there's a couple of things. Is my understanding is he's who you talk to. He knows the file because there's not a large factory or a large group going on. You're going to get a response back that's an intelligent response. Like he knows what's going on with the file. He's either doing the search himself, or if it's a far outlying one, of course, he's going to sub that out. But the other thing that I think is interesting, and I want you to talk a little bit about how you might be pivoting between traveling and or maybe using some of the features of Qualia. Because I know there have been an instance or two, I think Danielle, or I'm not sure if it's Danielle or Nicole, but one agent actually had you travel to the client.
Yeah,
that's a unique feature.
We offer our as long as the technology is available and the lender will participate with things, we can do a lot of things to facilitate easing a client experience. So if they need somebody to come to their house to sign, we can send somebody to their house to sign. If they want to come to the office, it's fine too. During COVID, we've done drive-through closings because some people aren't comfortable coming into the office. We make it our responsibility to the client to make their experience as seamless as we can, while still obtaining documents in a timely manner without badgering them to death, which is one of the things that I'm thrilled about Qualia, is that it enables us to present clients with a simple interface to use to enter in their information without having to go to their realtor, without having to call us, without having to send any paperwork. They don't have to fax or do anything like that like they used to have to do. There's no information sheets. They just go online, fill out a form, and that's it. If we need updates, we can send them information requests. They email it back to us, and we're all set. So we're really trying to streamline the experience to take the workload off of realtors for having to field these kind of things, as well as make it easier on the customers who may not have ready access to a fax machine, or may have other issues that kind of interfere with it might interfere with their day and try to take care of some of these requests. So we're trying to do what we can through partnering with Qualia and with EHL and with executive title to make the experience as seamless as we can and provide as high a level of service as we can to every client across the board. And I think that things are, it's actually improved a lot with Qualia Connect, and Chanel will be able to walk you through the features of that a little bit more thoroughly than I probably even could myself. So I'm looking forward to see what she has to present for us today.
The thing that I want us to kind of really pay attention to that I know of Qualia, so Chanel can correct us if I say something wrong, but I think there's a secure platform, there's a video chat feature. So agents who have, put all of this time and investment into the deal, and suddenly they can't be there to close it, and take part in the joy of the final product, I'm hoping that that's something that everyone can take advantage of and at least do like what we're doing now, but on a secure platform. So at least you're there, you're in some form present, for your client at the very end and can, celebrate together. That's the one thing that really stood out to me when I've seen this demo before is that secure chat.
Yeah, so the secure video feature, as all of you are aware, I'm sure, at least temporarily, the state has authorized remote notarizations, remote video notarizations specifically, and Qualia has that capability built into it. So if there's a client who either can't or doesn't want to be in the office, for risk reasons, for COVID or whatever the reason may be, we can now conduct a remote closing where they don't have to leave their house. We send them the documents or overnight them the documents. They sign the documents on camera and then send them back to us, and we notarize them for them in the office. So it eliminates the need for them to have to leave their house, even, especially for people who are in a higher risk category. That's been, it's a really great feature to offer. And I'm hoping that now that people see that this is a benefit and there's really not a lot of risk to it, that the state will extend that even beyond when we get through this COVID crisis. Fingers crossed, we'll see.
Well, this is a great introduction. Again, I'm glad that there's a couple of people here on the call that are familiar with Qualia, familiar with Connect, have maybe used it in the past. Everything that you guys have just said is spot on with, sort of where Qualia is hoping to take remote closings. The team that I'm on back in March was probably one of the busiest months that I've experienced since I started here at Qualia about 2 years ago. And it was because there were a lot of business owners like Jason. We had a bunch of realtors that we have worked with in the past, all reaching out to us, really curious about what Qualia's long-term plan was for remote closings. We, in March, had no plans to create a product to solve for this year. It was not something that we were intending to create. And it was really driven by customers asking for it and saying, hey, we really feel like this is something that we need right now. And so that is exactly why we pushed Connect Video Chat out earlier this summer, so that those who were in temporary orders that allowed for, like Jason mentioned, we call them our RIN closings, or remote ink notarization closings. So when we talked to customers about those, we have that ability if somebody wants to do a remote closing. But I'm not sure who was asking the question about just like being able to be there via video, like on closing day. We also have the ability that, from the title side, they could, video conference you into however that closing was happening. If it was happening in person with Jason and we want the realtor to be able to be like somewhat, video present, that is available. So most of what I'm going to talk about today is going to end up being like an actual demonstration of the product, but I do want to run through just a couple of things for those on the call that maybe not familiar with Qualia and our general positioning. And so we really took this from the perspective of what are buyer and sellers expectations looking like, today. We took a lot of this data from earlier this year, which was, what are buyers and sellers looking at? The average home buyers being, under 37 years old. We only expect that the millennial generation is going to continue to be a large portion of our home buying sort of pie. And so they're the ones that are going to expect a, modern closing experience. And so this is what Jason is offering through Qualia Connect to your customers. So some of the other data points we have here is like 75% of buyers and sellers are expecting real-time property updates. And a lot of times that's coming from you guys, you, the realtors. They're coming to you, asking, where is this process at? And some of the other things that we found when we were doing some of this research was that, 82% of buyers are hoping to utilize some form of an online solution. You know, that's really, again, coming from the fact that the group of home buyers that we're seeing right now are some of the most tech savvy, you know, individuals. So ultimately, this is where Qualia Connect is going to come in. It's a cloud-based platform. It is a sort of one-stop shop. We've got a mobile app. If you guys have not downloaded it, you can find Qualia Connect on the iOS or Android App Store. And this will actually allow you guys to manage everything in Connect from your phone, so you don't have to be behind a computer to access that. This is also going to guide all of your clients through the closing process. Like Jason said, it's a really you know, user-friendly, streamlined tool that we already have, you know, 150,000 realtors nationwide using the app, working with Qualia-powered title companies to get through here. So we've talked about a couple of these things already. They were already mentioned, but things like real-time progress updates are going to go out from Jason's side as he is actually working in the software. As soon as certain items are completed, we're going to end up sending notifications out to y'all that are, you know, stating that those things have been checked off the list. Obviously, it's a communication tool. When Qualia was developing Connect, it was something that we had seen that there was in almost every email I've ever got from a settlement agent, from a title company, from a law firm, they've got that, you know, tagline at the bottom of their email that says, like, do not, you know, wire any funds, like, without calling us first. Like, it's always in bold red font. And so security around the transaction has been huge for Qualia. So how can we make sure that we are being responsible with everybody's, you know, personal information? And so we created a portal that sort of mitigates a lot of the threats that are associated with wire fraud and email phishing scams. So the security aspects of the portal are huge. So like I mentioned, this has got an automated progress tracker from open to close. You guys are going to get these updates from Qualia automatically. I mentioned the mobile app. So again, you guys can actually get quotes. You guys can get seller net sheets. You know, you guys can do everything that I'm going to show you today in the demo portion of today's call in the app itself. So you can have this directly in the palm of your hands. So ultimately, we're really looking to save time for you guys with digital information requests. So like Jason mentioned, typically in the past, you know, most customers are being sent some form of like an info sheet that they're having to either print out, fill out online, and email back. And then on Jason's side, obviously having to put all that information into the system. So by getting our team into the portal, into Connect to provide us with all of this, we're just going to create a very streamlined process that allows these individuals to complete this at the time that makes most sense for them, as well as, like I mentioned, the security aspects. We have the highest security standards in the industry. We really do take everybody's clients' information to like keep it, you know, as safe as possible. So some of the things that we did around this is that we are, you know, ISO certified. We are SOC 2 compliant. And Alta has provided us with, you know, one of their elite providers because of our password protection, the fact that we do have that two-factor authentication that people can put on their account, our data encryption, and our sort of strict access to how Qualia members have access to your guys' accounts as well. So I want to wrap this up a little bit from Brendan here. He's a realtor locally here in Austin that we've worked with, and just some comments that he mentioned. You know, his particular realty group is focused on a millennial client, and so Qualia for him has always made sense. So he's actually strategically aligned himself with a local Austin-based title and escrow company that he knows every time my client, my buyer, or my seller is going to work with this title and escrow company, I know that they're going to get through that closing process much easier than they would have before, you know, I initiated that partnership. So if y'all have not been invited to a file, you guys do not currently have a Qualia Connect account, there is this tiny URL that's down here. So it's tinyurl.com/NormanLegal. This will actually take you to a page where you can set up your own account and be able to place orders with Jason after you've signed up. It'll also allow you to get those quotes and seller net sheets. So is everybody with me so far? Is there any questions about sort of what I just covered here, just from a top level perspective before I get into the actual demonstration?
So one thing I would add, Chanel, is that we've integrated that into our website as well. So there's a link to both of these things to get a quote and to log into the Connect portal on the front page of my website, where you just go click submit an order and it takes you to the same place. So there are multiple ways to get to your account access.
That is awesome. So perfect. So ultimately, if you guys have been working with Jason or you've been on a file with him, you would have received an email pretty similar to the one that I've got here on the screen. This is actually what's going to go out anytime you are added to a new order. Meaning if you send in a purchase and sale agreement to Jason, we're going to open this up. You're going to get a notification when he officially gives access to that particular file. That'll look like this. Once you guys have logged in and set up your password for the first time, if you are trying to access the portal thereafter and you have not turned on two-factor authentication, every notification will have this green quick access button. And that's actually what auto logs you into the portal, will bring you directly to whatever item you're particularly being notified about. So I am in this file here for 3201 Bee Caves Road. This is Leslie's file here. She is the listing agent on this particular file. So some of the things I like to point out here is that we do put in some protections based off of the role that you are. So we're not creating, communication conflicts of interest here. If for whatever reason there might be like a buyer is not being represented by a realtor, then you guys would have access to that. But we do block it if there is, communication. So you guys can actually use this to communicate with each other. So if you have something that you're trying to work with a selling agent on, you can actually directly communicate with them through this tool. Again, you can communicate directly with Jason through this tool as well and send them messages too. So let me pull up a couple of things. So one of the things I really like to dive into very early on.
That when you click on the messaging app, these are all secure messages. So you can send information through the portal as if you were sending a secure email. So you don't have to log into a separate app or do any other passwords or anything like that. You can do it all from within the app, and it will be sent securely. So you can send, if you have to send personal information, if it's within the portal, then you're logged in, then that should be a secure connection for you to send information as needed. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Chanel.
No, you're totally fine. I'm sorry that I overlooked that detail. But yes, everything that you send through the Connect portal is going to be a secure email. And so again, you can communicate with all of the various parties associated, with the particular file. So from a top level perspective, one of the things I like to cover is settings. And so this is something that you guys individually will want to come in here and make sure that you have, completed your profile. So putting in any of your relevant, profile information. In this case, you can also add like your headshot. This is what will allow you to actually co-brand your quotes and seller net sheets with Jason's information and your guys' information. This is also where you can set up your notifications. So this is super important. I know that there are some cases where as we get started in Connect, there's certain things that we want in email, maybe some things that we want in app. And so we can actually come in here and change, these specific notification types that we're going to get throughout the closing process, and decide how we want them delivered. Email and app is just that. It means that we're going to get an email, and then app notifications are up here in our bell icon. So if we do select app notification only, this is the only place that you will see that is in the bell icon. So just make sure that that's, if you're selecting app notification, that it's something that, again, you're only going to see when you log in. And then obviously no notification altogether. So if you don't want a particular notification, you can obviously turn those off. You'll also have the ability to set up preferred settlement agencies. So this will be whomever you, again, prefer to work with in Qualia. So in this case, you know, we would put Norman Legal in that setting, and this will just make it so that as you guys are trying to get quotes, it'll default here to Jason. If you ever need to change your password, or you do want to enable that two-factor authentication, this is also where you can do that here. Is there any questions for me on the user settings here? No? Okay. So I want to hop back into our orders. And so as you can see, Leslie here, when she logs in, she's going to have the list of all of the files that she is currently, you know, working that are in, you know, open status here that I can click into. So I'll also include any files maybe that are in pre-contract. And so we don't have a purchase and sale agreement yet, but I know that we're going to process title with Jason. We can actually send those over in advance if we choose to do so. So let me go hop back into my trusted test file here. So some of the things that we can see here on our overview page, and I know that we talked about this a little bit already, was the progress tracker bar. So this is, you know, where we're going to be able to see, you know, those key items when they were completed for this particular file. If there's any relevant documents that like I need access to, so in this case, I've got a title commitment, I can actually download that directly from the homepage should I need, you know, I need access to that. But you're going to be able to see again when, you know, these items have been completed, where in the closing process, you know, Jason and team is at, so that again, you can keep your buyers and sellers completely up to date. Now, you're also, as a part of our email notifications, when all of the steps in these given milestones, so like once these 2 steps here are completed, I would also get an automated email stating that closing prep is completed. We're now just like waiting for our closing date to approach for that next update. So some of the things that we can see here is we can also, you know, view over the property. So in this case, you know, my property address is a shopping center. So I'm seeing a shopping center instead of an actual home. But obviously, if this was like a home address, you know, this would give us the Google picture view, which I know a lot of individuals have really appreciated because it's kind of exciting to be able to view that property that you're, you know, purchasing in advance. Now, some of the other things to cover here are obviously, like I said, these are our in-app notifications. So we can always see any of our questions there. And if we press preferences, that would take us back into our user settings to change those. But I want to go through our quoting and ordering flow with you guys real quick. So getting access to the seller net sheet, you're just going to have a few key pieces of information, things like, you know, the property address. We're going to need to know, you know, what type of transaction this is. So if this is a purchase, what is the loan amount, and then what is the purchase price. Select the provider that we're getting the quote from. We can include things like payoffs in our seller net sheet. So I can go in and add any details I might have there. In the seller net sheet, I can also include what, you know, the commission percentage that I'm going to receive for, you know, this property. Maybe I know that there are some prorations. So like this particular property has, you know, a $5,000 HOA fee for the year. I can include that here. Oops, too far. I'll have some options to say of like who actually paid this so that it'll create that proration for me. If I've got any other additional line items, so maybe I have a, transaction coordinator fee. I know I spelled that wrong. And then we're going to confirm some details about the title policy. Again, these are going to pull those information in. And then within 30 seconds to a minute here, I will have that printable, shareable, savable quote that I can, again, send out to maybe the seller that I'm trying to win this listing for, of like, hey, if you work with myself and, Jason, our title partner, this is what we think, you'll net from the sale of this property. And so, like I said, it actually co-brands it with you. So like Jason's information would be here, your information would be there, and you can, again, save that. Now, if I've sent out a quote and I now am actually ready to place that order, meaning I've got that purchase and sale agreement, I am ready, I can come in here, let's say that is that purchase and sale agreement, attach that. I'm going to select the role that I am on this file. I can start to include contacts. So I can go in and put my buyer and seller information in here. And then I can also include a message. And submit this off. And so this will, again, create a new file for me here in Qualia Connect, where I can actually see it in order acceptance, which once Jason reviews, the contract, selects if there's anything that needs to change about it, he'll be able to accept it, and it'll push it into title processing once he's got it on his side and accepted that order. Any questions there about that quoting and ordering flow? Have any of you guys used that previously?
I've used the system, but only through a local attorney. They sent me the invite to go through the system.
Got it. But never came back in to utilize like this functionality.
No, actually, it was just last week, and it was the first one I've utilized with this service.
Got it. So yeah.
Jason, is this how you prefer to receive contracts, or you'll take it anyway?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll take your contract any way you want to send it, but it's obviously easier for us, and it saves time in processing if it's entered through Qualia, because then we have the buyer's contact information, the seller's contact information. We can go ahead and order title if we know the lender information. There are things that will help shorten the closing window if it's done through the automated system. So it is better to do it that way for us. Just from a speed perspective, we can move through things faster for you. You'll get confirmations quicker, those kind of things. Otherwise, we have to sort through the email and then open the order and those things. While it doesn't shorten it, it doesn't make it that much longer, but it can save you some time and some it prevents us from missing an email address or a phone number for a client, for a buyer or seller that we need to process things and move forward. So it does help when people do enter it online.
Working in the evening and the weekends when you guys aren't open.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I do have a question about the messaging, because I know that a lot of agents, or we'll see it in email, they're looking for a closing date. So if they're in here and they're going to, test this out, when they type that message in, how are you receiving that? Or maybe that's a question for Chanel. Does that convert to Microsoft email, or like how, or do you have to be?
So when I receive emails from customers or from realtors through Qualia, it pops up as a message in Qualia. My interface is a little different. It's got a list of files, and then I'll get notices for every email that I receive in the system. So I don't get emails for messages like that, but you could configure it that way, I believe. Chanel, correct me if I'm wrong. But I do think that that's a possibility. But normally I'm in Qualia all the time.
Okay.
So if somebody sends me a message, especially if it's through Qualia and not through email, you'll get an answer sometimes within like 5 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, I really try to be on top of that so that people get answers timely to whatever questions they might have or whatever issues they've got. Sometimes I end up working late and I'll answer questions late too, especially if they just pop up as a notice and I can just quickly respond to it. I'll do whatever I can to make sure that you guys have the information you need. When you're trying to get a deal closed, what's this going to cost? Is there an additional fee because this title has to be extracted because it's in Union County and it involves more details. We prefer those in-system messages because they're secure and they're faster to notify us. So both of those things are benefits to us, and hopefully to you guys if you're using the app. You'll just get a pop-up saying you've got a message back from us. That way, if there's sensitive information, it'll go right into that message, and you don't have to log into anything else.
Awesome. That's exactly what this leads us exactly where I wanted to go next, which was into messaging. And so a lot of what Jason just said is super important. Again, he's living in Qualia day to day. So you guys have a couple of ways that you guys can communicate with him in an efficient way. The first one is obviously coming in here and starting a conversation in Qualia. Again, you can do this from the app. You can select individuals you want to send that message to. You'd include, some sort of subject line, whatever the message needs to be. If you need to send them something, maybe you have a document from your side that you need to share with them, you can also share these securely. And again, this is really, really efficient on Jason's side because it's just going to automatically add those files, those documents to the associated file that this message was sent on. And so I'll send that out. And again, on the settlement agency side, everything's going to live in their software. Now, when Jason or team sends you guys a message, you'll get something like this in your email inbox. And so it will, again, have the logo at the top, sort of tell you what's there. If they sent you a document, it'll list that out here. And so documents will be something that you have to physically get into the portal to access. But again, our quick access buttons, when they're used and you have just logged into this portal from that same IP address and same device, it will log you directly into the portal where you can see again that message in that thread. So this notification was for a different account than I was just logged into, which is why it had me log in again. My realtor, that's the lender view. And so this is the realtor view here. So I can see that now. You guys have the option to reply directly in email if this is not something sensitive. Again, we're not trying to encrypt this because it doesn't have like personal information. The thing that you guys need to make sure that you're doing here is sending it to this encrypted email. I know it looks a little funny, but this is how we map it at Qualia to know that this reply should come into this file in this thread. And so what we don't want you to do here is press reply, replace this, and add Jason's email and email him directly. Just make sure that when you press the reply button, whether you're in Outlook, you're in Gmail, whatever, that you're sending it to this encrypted email, and this will make sure that again it is secure and it is kept in that Qualia file. Let me see here. What else is there to sort of chat through on messages? I'm not sure there's too much else here. Again, you guys, use that quick access button in almost all cases. When I've talked to realtors, they're accessing from the same device, so they're not having to log in every time in that case, which has been helpful. But again, knowing that you can reply directly to the message notification is huge. So one of the other things to sort of talk through on this side is documents. And again, like I mentioned, anything that is sent via Qualia Connect, like as a document attachment, will be listed in those message notifications. And so you'll have to log in to access those, but they will live here indefinitely. So I can actually see all of the relevant documents that have been sent to me. If I've received multiple versions, we'll see these sort of archived options of older versions of older documents. And your clients are going to have the same access. So as Jason shares certain documents with your buyers and sellers, they're going to have access to those indefinitely as well. And so, you know, ultimately, no matter what the document is, it'll be living in this tab for you and your buyers and sellers. The next section I want to hop into is tasks, but I want to just pause real quick. Is there any questions here about messaging or documents?
I think there were a few questions in the chat, but Jason is answering them. I do want to be conscious of everyone's time because we did have a portion of this webinar to talk about surveys and enhanced title policies.
We're like almost maybe five minutes left, I think.
Okay. Awesome.
I'm just seeing some of these questions. So Chris, the list of attorneys that are using this app, it's not something that we currently present. Your attorneys, if they're using Qualia, and you know that they're using Qualia, that can be something, you know, feel free to ask them. Typically, if they're using this, you're going to get that invitation on their files. If they're not using this, then, you know, that is part of it. So Sue had a question when an order is opened, or Jason, that was you answering those. Okay, sweet.
Trying to work through this.
Yeah, so the tasks. So tasks area is ultimately how Jason is going to collect information from you, but also how Jason will collect information from your clients. So you're actually going to be able to log in here and see if your clients have outstanding tasks that Jason has requested of them. And you guys can actually send reminders. Now, I don't know how frequently this comes up in your guys' region, but sometimes I know that I've worked with customers who either have like non-English speaking clients or maybe an older client who maybe isn't going to be tech savvy. A lot of our tasks can actually be sent directly to you. So in those cases of non-English speaking or maybe non-tech savvy, just let Jason know, hey, send me the tasks that are supposed to go to my buyer, you know, to myself, and they'll show up here. And so in this case, I had a task to confirm, you know, commission information. And so this can get sent as a confirmation to make sure that what Jason had on the agreement matches what he put in the system. So this really is a fail safe across the board, that we don't get to, you know, closing day and realize that the commission wasn't entered incorrectly, or maybe we forgot that we have that transaction coordinator fee. That I needed to add. It's also going to have you confirm, you know, the selling agent commission, if that is there, if the selling agent has any, you know, additional fees, if we know about the earnest deposit, so who's holding that, as well as providing your licensing information. Hopefully what you guys recognize as I went through this is that some of the information was already defaulted, meaning if Jason had it in his system, it's going to come in on your side. You're not going to have to re-enter information that he already had. And so in this case, for like my state licensing info, I have already worked on a file in this test account, and so that's why it was defaulted. I can submit that over into him, and it would push me into whatever next task I was being asked for. So in this case, I'm being asked to confirm closing costs. So if we know that there's any additional, you know, endorsements or any additional costs that are associated, you know, we can ultimately include those here and submit that off to Jason as well. Any questions there about the tasks? No? All right. Well, I want to just sort of wrap everything up. I know that we talked through quite a few things today. Ultimately, I'm hoping that you guys could see that this is really meant to do really three main things. The first one is, how can we make the ways that you work with Jason a little bit more efficient? You know, how are we utilizing technology to keep our clients up to date with those automated progress updates? How are we making, you know, the process of collecting information for you and your clients easier, rather than having some sort of printout or sheet? we're allowing them to come into the portal to provide that and have a lot of, data population occur for ease there. The second thing being the security. So again, we know that email isn't safe. And so by having this password protected portal, we're sort of keeping everything behind those, that password protected wall. And then, sort of last, what are we doing to create a superior client experience? We know that this is better than anything else that's out in the industry right now, being offered to clients to be able to follow, their closing process. So hopefully this was helpful. I know we didn't get directly into some of the Connect video chat options here that you guys had talked about. That's definitely something, Jason, you and we can circle up on to make sure that everybody has the availability there, and that you can utilize that in the cases where it might be pertinent. But if there's any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to Jason or reach out to myself if you guys want to take my contact information down. I think obviously I was invited to this call, so somebody in the organization has my email address. So feel free to reach out. I'm here to help. Want to make sure that everybody here on the call gets the most out of this experience.
Thank you.
Thank
One
you,
of the questions I want to say real quick, asked if any of our other attorneys that we have on our approved attorney list use this system. I'll go ahead and send an email out to everyone to find out. I only know Jason and one other firm. That doesn't mean that others haven't adopted it since then. It's just not a conversation that's come up recently, but because it has the potential to really save you guys some time and get organized, I'll go shoot an email out to all of them and just find out, and then I'll do a mass email to everybody to let them know. And this, I think, is being recorded too, so if you know others in your office that maybe couldn't make it today, or it sounded kind of interesting, or you yourself want to watch it again, I think Sarah can probably tell us where to find that.
I work with quite a few attorneys around town, and I can't recall any of them using Connect. I do know a couple of them that use Qualia for their back office, for their internal processing of files, but Connect hasn't been added on, so because it's something that's billed per file, so it's an add-on service.
Oh, okay.
I haven't encountered anyone using it yet. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but it just seems it's less common than using Qualia as their processing platform.
Okay, so the Connect is the actual.
Yes. Yeah, that's what you guys are logging into is Qualia Connect, which is a separate. It's not separate per se, but it's distinct from using Qualia for closings, which is another thing entirely.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and hop off here. Again, if there's any questions, feel free to let me know. Jason, I'll let you take over for the rest of this, but it was a pleasure getting to go through this with you guys. Again, if there's anything, feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Chanel. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course, happy to help as always.
Take care.
Bye.
All right. So, surveys. Exciting stuff. So it sounds like people have questions about surveys, but I didn't really get any detail about like what the specific questions were. But I'm happy to go over surveys and answer what I can if people have questions about that.
Let me preface, and it might help start it off. So as probably everybody on the call knows, or if you don't, I'm going to be telling you this. I am a big proponent, so is Hadi and Karush, of enhanced policies. And one of the things that you may have heard Karush mention is that an enhanced policy gives some, and the keyword is basic, survey coverage. We have a lot of clients who do not want to pay that survey cost despite your hardest encouragement to do that. I mean, definitely they want to do that because you don't know how they're going to want to use their land later on. But what he was trying to say, and I want to make it really clear, is an enhanced policy innately comes with the, I don't want to say the equivalent, but similar to a boundary survey. So we all know there's multiple different surveys, so be careful when you're talking about this. But if you have a client who is refusing to get a survey, it is really important at that point for you to really either have them call me or kind of talk to them about an enhanced policy, because a lot of the lands are in subdivisions. And an enhanced policy, what they're doing is they're taking on the risk, the title company is taking on the risk that because it's in a subdivision, that its boundaries that we're thinking about, there may be an existing encroachment of a retaining wall to the neighbor, a foot or an inch or something like that, that's been in there past the statutory limits to sue and have it changed. If you just have a basic policy, you're on your own. Whereas if you have an enhanced policy, at least you have a third party to call and say, hey, this is the situation that I've come up against. I'm told by my local person, Allie at Executive Title, that enhanced policy may help me. And they're going to come in and kind of try to mitigate any losses, of course, if it's past the statutory time. They're just going to do all of those conversations there that you and I aren't going to know how to do that. So specifically about surveys and what Karush was saying recently, and what Hadi himself has experienced in the past with regards to not having an enhanced policy, there are some situations where you could actually lose some land, or you could lose out. And the premium difference, it's less than 20%. Sometimes I try to kind of play with a lot of different numbers. Typically, it's about $100 to $150 more. I mean, the premium is always based on a couple of things, like the sale price or the loan, whichever is higher, and whether or not you have a reissue rate. But in general, it's not going to exceed 20% more of that one-time premium. But you get a lot of very practical benefits, and again, specific to survey. And I'll have other videos coming, webinars coming about that, and some basics that animated videos that you can put up on your website. But that's what prompted us to include talking about surveys specifically and enhanced policy. So if that helps you, Jason, or if other people have specific questions, let's go ahead and do that, because I know we're probably a little close on time. And if you tuned in specifically for this portion, we don't want to make you feel left out or that you didn't get those questions answered.
Sure. So I hope everybody can see this. I shared the Fidelity enhanced Alta policy comparison, which kind of gives you a breakdown of what the additional coverages are. I can make this document available. I'm not sure how to do it in GoToMeeting, but if it
later today at 4 to co-brand it, and I'll share with everyone company-wide.
Gotcha. This is just kind of a handy guide. You know, a lot of people don't order surveys, and I think in many cases they don't really need a survey. But if there ended up being, let's see if I can zoom out on that a little bit. Is that better? Hopefully that's better for everybody. Maybe.
I was going to say, if you can zoom in, and then if anyone wants to zoom in further, there should be a plus and minus sign on the right side of your screen. So if you need to see the document, but we can share it afterwards, right?
Sure. So if it's not a property that's in a planned unit subdivision, or if the description is in meets and bounds, a survey is always advisable. But if they don't want to get a survey, then getting an enhanced policy is certainly advisable, just to give them that added protection, because one of the most common things that people end up fighting are boundary disputes. You know, if somebody puts a fence on your property that was there before you moved in and you didn't get a survey and you don't have an enhanced policy, then you're out of luck. You have to defend that on your own. So, I mean, there are things that you don't necessarily think about when you're buying a house that can come up later, sometimes much later, that can be very expensive. So there are benefits to that. Yeah, so Allie, yeah, within six months to 1 year of the purchase or refinance is when the survey has to be issued or completed, rather. So, you know, there are certainly benefits to it, and particularly in situations where you've got an older property that's not as well defined on a planned unit development plat. In those situations, I would certainly advise an enhanced policy. Or a survey. You know, sometimes a survey is a good idea to add on even when you get an enhanced policy. Does anybody have any questions about enhanced policies or surveys specifically, I can answer those if anyone has them.
Hey, yeah, Jason, this is Chris Ty. Did you just say that even if the client says, you know, I just really don't see the need, don't want to do a survey, and we do the enhanced policy, that we then still have to do a survey within 6 to 12 months?
No, I don't believe that's the case. Allie, can you clarify on that? Because I think that if
No,
you
what Jason had said is in some cases, like older property or boundaries that are just not real clear, even if you have an enhanced policy, in some select cases, you might also want a survey. It's never a requirement. And at the beginning of before he was talking about this, that's why I wanted to clarify. In your minds, I want you guys to think of boundary surveys. If your client's going to buy a piece of property and they're telling you, or you suspect that they want to build a pool in this beautiful big backyard, they better get a survey, because if there's an easement through the middle of it to Duke or whoever, and they go building a pool on it, it's going to be, it might be ripped up at some point. They're taking that risk that an enhanced is not going to, help them with. It's more of existing HOA encroachments, but more around the boundary of it. So we still want to encourage people to do that, but in the cases where you're doing your best to convince them and you've got a hard nose that says, no, I don't want it, I've seen many attorneys even say, okay, here, sign this piece of paper that says, I encouraged you to buy it because you don't know how you're going to use your land, in the future, and I don't want you to come back to me and say I didn't recommend it, that sort of thing. But he was saying in some older properties, you might still want to get a survey.
right.
Okay, I guess I just misheard or misunderstood something about getting a survey then within 6 to 12 months.
Sorry, I apologize. He had seen where I saw Sue asked what is considered a current survey by the industry. It was unrelated.
I see.
If you're getting a survey for title purposes, it has to have been within 6 to 12 months of the issuance of the policy.
I understand now. I just misheard. But, and two other quick questions. I know we're time limited. We heard on the call the other day, I think, that Hadi was on, that at least I did, that many lenders, title insurance companies, and closing attorneys will not act without a survey.
Say that again. I missed the middle part of your question there, of the last thing you said.
Well, I think we heard that some lenders, some title insurance companies, and some closing attorneys will not act, or will ask the client, to sign all their rights away without a survey.
I guess that's possible. I haven't experienced that as much. I mean, if I see something on a title search that makes me think that the party should get a survey, I will advise them to do it. I'll explain to them, why they need the survey, because their property is described in meets and bounds, and those meets and bounds might not be located properly, or they might be old, or they might be encroached upon by the neighboring property. Give them the reasons why the survey is valuable. And if they still decide not to do it, maybe I'll have them sign a waiver against me. But as far as, or at least an acknowledgement that I have explained the benefits of the survey to them, and that they have declined to order one, just to protect myself. But as far as waiving their rights, I haven't seen that so much, but, I can't speak for what other firms do. I have not had so much an issue with lenders because, Allie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't believe a lender's policy addresses survey issues.
It doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't. The lender's policy just wants to know we're in first lien position, and if you mess that up, we're coming after you if they default. And
Right.
so from a title insurance perspective, we're not, going to ever require a survey. We're going to have a generic survey exception there that says if something comes up and you didn't have a survey, and then, we're going to bow to whoever has the easements. But I think maybe possibly whatever was said was along this lines, that a lot of attorneys are just trying to say to clients, I really highly advise this, but you chose not to, so I don't want to hear from you later on. And so
Right.
sign this piece of paper. I think that's probably more. I've not heard of anybody turning down or, not doing a closing. Nobody can make you sign your rights away. They just can't. You're buying it.
Right.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks. That really helps a lot. I appreciate it.
No problem. Anyone else?
Okay. Well, if you think of something later that we didn't address now, that it just didn't come to mind at the time, you can feel free to email me. It's jason@norman-legal.com. You can email me anytime. I'm happy to answer questions as they come up. Just shoot me a message and I'll get back to you. Usually the same day with answers to whatever might come up that you have questions about. So, Allie, anything else that people wanted to talk about that we haven't covered already?
None that I know of, and I'm glad that you had this, because this is, and you'll see it better when we send it through the email tomorrow, I guess, once I get it branded. It actually gives you examples, whereas what we had provided before is something that we had here even before I came. It just had like line items, and it didn't really give you any sense of what it was talking about. These, although it's going to be a few more pages, it actually gives you information. So we can probably have it as like a hyperlink if you wanted to put it in your emails, or I've got, I can put it in mine, or I can give you hard copies. But when you get it, just take a minute and just look through. It'll make way more sense than what we've had in the past. And then, like I said, next week I'll have just basic animated videos that you can, short ones that you could put up on your website if you wanted. Most of your clients don't know what title insurance is, and I don't expect you to know all the ins and outs, but they're going to expect you to know the basics. So you can just go, here you go. And it's just a different break in the whole monotony of either verbal or written. So, but you can always, send people over to me as well. And we can have more webinars too about the differences and what people are running into specifically in our markets. Whether it's in Charlotte, the mountains, they have different markets, but Fidelity's all over the place. So we can do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a property that's located in Asheville or somewhere around Asheville, survey is much more advisable than.
And yes, with access coverage.
Yeah, there are definitely market needs that dictate differentiations between a planned unit development in Charlotte that's got a well-defined map and something that's on a hillside in Asheville, that backs up to a forest, or there are just different needs depending on where you're at. So it really is a case by case kind of consideration based on what issues are involved. Well, I want to take a minute to thank you all for spending an hour this morning with me and with Chanel. With Qualia, if anyone has any questions about that, they can direct those to me as well. And if I don't know the answer, I can get an answer for you. I do hope that everybody at least tries it. I think that it's an excellent platform. It's not, I don't think it's widely used yet, but I think that people will like it when they use it. And I invite everybody to try it, at least once. Barbara, you're asking about the cost. There is no additional cost to your client. My fees are the same regardless. I do pay a fee for it, but I believe that it's something that's worth it to add value to my client's experience. So there's nothing that gets passed to your customers, as far as expense for the technology. It's just part of the closing cost already. So there is no add-on fee, as it were, for you. So it's something you can try for free, and if you like it, great. I hope that you come back and use it again. I do encourage everybody to use it at least once, just so you see what the experience is like. And if you run into any issues or have any questions, we welcome feedback so that we can pass that to Qualia and improve the platform. They are very responsive to customer needs. So, you know, we can always reach out to them and ask them for features or upgrades.
Well, thank you. And that's why we wanted to have Jason on us, because he's one of the few that has made that investment in making things easier for you guys, because you guys are working 24/7. You need to have that convenience of both receiving the commission wired, but as well as like popping in and on and, you know,
Yeah.
give him a try. I mean, I've always heard
Beautiful.
wonderful things.
What, the commission wires?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, anybody with Remax, you know, if you do a closing with us, we can wire the commission directly after closing. We have all the wiring information, so you know, we don't have to mail checks, and you guys don't have to come pick them up. We can just send the funds directly to their account. Which, you know, there's very, very few attorneys in town that do that. At least in my experience, they just don't like doing wires. I don't understand it personally. I mean, it's, you know, it's a pretty simple setup process, so we don't mind doing it for you guys. Anything else? I know we're running a little over, so I don't want to hold you guys up if you've got other things you got to take care of. But I'm willing to stick around if there are more questions too. You're welcome, Ann.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Look
you.
forward to doing business with you. And thanks, Allie, for jumping in with the title questions and helping walk through some of those.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you, Sarah, for setting this all up. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep. Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.